Shalom. We've decided that we wanted to make some videos about the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are a very special thing to us. They should be very close to our hearts. Jesus taught the Ten Commandments all through the parables and all through his life. And he showed how to apply them to our lives. But today, the age that we're living in, it just seems like it's treated like the 10 suggestions instead of the 10 commandments. The first thing we want everybody to realize is there's a difference between suggesting something and being commanded to do something. Being commanded to do something makes it a requirement. A suggestion is just that. It just means, well, if you did this, things would work out better. Well, with the 10 commandments, they're not suggestions, they are commandments. We're required to keep these commandments while living the life of a believing Christian. My favorite spot to read about the Ten Commandments is in the book of Exodus, in the 20th chapter. It starts right out with the first commandment. It says, I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the abode of slavery. We were living in slavery. Every one of us was living in slavery. People say, oh, no, I've not been a slave. I was born here in the United States. You know, this is a free country. But when we lived in sin, we were enslaved to the sin we lived in. We were enslaved to that sin. There was no escape from it. It just kept drawing us in deeper and deeper and deeper every day. Oh, I never lived in the land of Egypt. No, but you did live in Egypt. When you lived in sin, you were in Egypt. You were in a foreign country. You were living in a foreign country when you lived in sin. When he calls us out of that sin, that country of sin, and he calls us and he brings us in to this blessed life of holy living, we come out of the slavery that we're in when we were slaves to sin. And we truly people all the time say, oh, I'm not a slave to this. Well, I enjoy this. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy doing that. You're a slave to it because it controls you. A person who's a heroin addict can never convince me that they're not enslaved to that heroin. They're enslaved to it because it controls them. Their body wants more constantly, all the time. A person who's an alcoholic is enslaved to the alcohol because they constantly want alcohol. They want more, and it takes more all the time to satisfy the craving. You are enslaved to that. You can be enslaved to other things. We speak about heroin and alcohol, and those come to the forefront quite a bit. You can be enslaved to that sports car. That's right. You can be enslaved to that sports car. You can be enslaved to that designer label of clothing. You can be enslaved to so many different things, and you may not even realize how deep your slavery is. But when you say, oh, I can't wear that shirt or that blouse or that skirt or that pair of shoes because, well, they're not any good. They're not made by Gucci. They're not made by, so-and-so. It doesn't have that label on it. I can't drive that car because it's not a Mercedes. I would never own a car that wasn't a Cadillac. Are you enslaving yourself to something, to some material object? I am Adonai your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the abode of slavery. Remember how he said that? He said, I am the Lord your God that brought you out of Egypt to be your God. He didn't bring us out of that sin for us to continue in the sin. He brought us out of the sin in order for us to worship him and not be bound by the sin. These are the words of God. The 10 Commandments are true Torah. truly the words of God. Each video we make, we'll talk about one commandment until we get through all 10 of them. Each one of these commandments has a purpose in the life of a Christian believer. They're not suggestions, they're commandments of how to live our life. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the abode of slavery. He brought us out of the slavery for us to live a good life. And he provides for us in that good life. Next time we'll discuss commandment number 2. Amen. God bless.